So I thought we'd go through every single one of those here this evening.
Excellent, yeah, good choice.
No, we'll hit a couple of high points and go from there. So a couple of the high points, one of the objectives was to place priority on revitalization, taking care of what we currently have, so those existing parks. So a few of those you can see right there, some of the specific strategic actions underneath those was replacing the Chase Park play area, renovating Lincoln Park, installing security cameras. We just started the Memorial Park Master Plan improvements and ADA access in all the parks. The Saddle Rock project, adding 2 pickleball courts in the parks, finishing Hale Park because this plan was done in 2018 before Hale Park was finished, and replacing picnic tables, which were nearly done in all the parks of doing. A couple others, getting grants, priority in grants. So for that time period, 2018, 2023, that 5-year period, we've brought in over $7.3 million in grants. Acquiring open space, where we've met that objective, and a couple others there. Building a couple trailheads, we're halfway there with Kenzie's Landing, and then new subdivisions, encouraging them to provide access. And so we're doing that with the Red Hawk subdivision, Queens Court, and a few others. A few more. So reviewing the park design standards. So we adopted those in 2021, did that update through COVID. Art collection, so that was new. That wasn't included in our last comp plan because we weren't doing art at that point. So now art is included in there. And acquiring art pieces, trying to do that a little bit each year. And so we've actually, when we acquired, it's kind of skews the stats there a little bit because we acquired all those Art on the Avenue sculptures in 2018, or after 2018. So that's 45 pieces there. So the plan itself, so it's separated out into 6 different chapters, and these are chapters that are prescribed by the state with the information in betweens, and we'll go through those real quick. Introduction section is just what you would think. It's the introduction to the plan. The planning area talks about where this plan takes place. So essentially it's the UGA of the city of Wenatchee, and so we cover everything from climate to topography in that section. Existing resources, so now this is an inventory where we've gone out, we've inventoried all the private, all the public, all the semi-private park areas and open spaces, rec programs, and arts that are in the community. Now this is where it gets fun, the demand and need analysis. So this is where we've gone through now and looked at all the different plans that we can find that are current and relevant, had meetings with interest groups. We've kept track over the last 6 years of all the different little phone calls and comments that we have received, for people wanting certain things that aren't in our current plans. We've kept track of all of those. And then we've had a survey out online as well. So we're collecting all that data and all that information. That goes in this demand and need analysis section. From that, we circle all the way back around to those goals and objectives again, use that information to update our current goals and objectives for all those different areas. So parks, recreation facilities, and one thing to note on that is we have a habitat section which we incorporated the last go round, and that keeps us eligible for a variety of habitat related grants that are out there. Arts is new, as I mentioned, rec program services in there, and then organization development that really talks about staffing and operations and things of that nature. Implementation section is how we get the things built, and so that contains our we have a prioritization of the projects, as well as arts, as well as recreation. So we have priorities for all of those things. The capital improvement plan is contained in that section as far as a summary goes, and then we have an appendices at the back that has each individual park broken out with information about the park itself and the improvements that are planned for each of those areas. The process. So we started collecting the data, picking the pumpkins back in December of last year. Each month we kind of go through a different chapter. So we started with the introduction section in January. February is the planning area chapter. Currently in March we're doing the survey, the existing resources section, working with GIS. They're helping prepare the maps for us. You can see that once we get all that data together, then April and May, June, we start going through and consolidating that into the goals and objectives. We have to send it off to the state a couple of times, so we'll send the first draft out to the state in June just to make sure we're not missing something. There's no big glaring error. Final draft, final state review in September. This is going through the Arts Rec and Park Commission every month as well. And then you guys would see it again in full in October, hopefully for adoption. So it's quite a process. Each month we do take a different chapter at the Arts Rec and Park Commission, and they review it and discuss it and critique it and go from there. With that, any questions? We're off and running.
Maybe on slide 3, I was a little confused on acres of open space, 553 acres open. What's open space?
Oh, that would
All
be,
the foothills trails.
yeah, essentially the foothills
So-
properties.
But didn't we buy them and then they get transferred to? How'd that work?
They
Other
buy
way
them,
around.
and then we buy them from them with grant dollars.
Got
So the
it.
city owns Saddle Rock, the city
Okay.
owns most of the trails up and down that
So
whole,
land trust
buys them,
buys them
and then we get an RCO grant, and then we
Okay.
give the money to the land trust, so we have title to those properties.
And-
Right. So in Dave's
Okay.
analysis, we've acquired
Yes.
ultimately ownership of 600 acres of open space.
And then we have the operations agreement with the land trust, so they do the trail maintenance and all that work up there.
And we're required to do so many every 4 years, 6 years?
No.
Okay.
Not for, no, not for that.
Okay. I was like, okay,
No, our plan we have to have for every 6 years, but
Okay.
as
So
far
I
as
think David
acquisition.
knew 6 years ago
Okay.
which ones we were in the process of buying, that thought we'd have this many acres bought.
okay.
And you think we've got a few more sort of coming in the next 6 years?
Yeah, there's a couple hanging out, so we applied for the grant for the Bighorn Ridge
Right.
acquisition. Most likely that wouldn't occur until 2025, 2026-ish, we're looking at.
Do we know how much land that's gonna be, the Bighorn one?
Yeah, I think it's 134
And
and
this is on the way
change.
to Indy out on the left, right? Just sort of out.
Omi Garden area.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
then,
is there some hiking trails already in that?
yes.
So you would anticipate a trailhead and some sort of hiking thing eventually?
Yeah, trailhead in the future, and we would partner with, we had preliminary discussions with Chelan County, and this has been a few years ago, about looking at a joint use facility, so Omi Garden parking as well as trailhead.
Okay.
So it could serve both purposes up there. And that would be, obviously after we acquire, and so,
Yeah.
2028, something like that, somewhere down the road.
Our first one that's really not over here.
Yes,
Yeah.
first one north of the river.
And Land Trust likes this one?
Yeah, we've been working with them and the property owners for, I don't know how many years. Land Trust has been working with them way longer than us, probably 10 years.
Okay.
We've been working with them, with the groups as it gets closer, maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, this is something to be proud of. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of land for 35,000 people.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
On the demand front, and this isn't just a city issue, this may be more regional, but I keep getting, well, not keep, occasionally I'm still getting comments about the lack of soccer field space in that. Is that continuing to be kind of one of our regional issues that
Yeah, that's
a
been
need
pretty
left
consistent.
satisfied?
Yeah, since, I want to say, well, I started in '07, and looking at the 2006 comp plan, there was discussions at that point for the need to plan a regional sports complex. That was one of those goals in that plan, and that continues to pop up throughout the planning processes.
So
Everything from a fourplex to soccer fields.
I think the discussion around an aquatic center that would be placed over on the other side of the Otabashan Bridge. People have talked about it's going to be an indoor 50-meter pool. It's going to be an outdoor pool akin to Moses Lake and Ephrata with a 50-meter outdoor pool as part of it. It could include soccer fields. It could include all kinds of things. So I think as the stakeholders start getting involved in what that might look like, because ultimately, if it gets far enough along, it's gonna have to take a vote of the people to make something like that happen.
Right.
So, Mark, I'm with you. I'm inclined to have a smaller aquatics facility that would include a 50-meter outdoor pool, some splash, but maybe 30 or 40 acres of soccer fields or baseball fields or whatever comes with that. So I think as the community looks forward, I think that's the time to say, this is what, it's broad enough that it could accomplish both, and there's 300 acres over there, so there's plenty of land for us to try to do something that would fit, I think, what that might entail.
Yeah, our biggest challenge within
We
the
just don't
city
have land.
is
Yeah,
land,
yeah.
exactly. A flat enough, big enough piece of property.
Well, and that's been my response, is that, you know, we've shoehorned some things in.
Yeah.
The city has, you know, the new turf field at Lincoln would be an example, the Foothills Park that we transferred to the school district, you know, they can do what they want with, but we just don't have, you know, it's like that complex, you know, when you leave Issaquah,
Yeah.
and you don't know it's there until it's nighttime, and you see that, you know, that green turf of acres and acres. We in the city, we don't have anything like that.
Yeah. And this really is our once-in-a-lifetime chance to do that, because if you don't do that over there, eventually it'll get eaten up by other sort of development. So this is the chance, and I think, when I comment on those things, that's what I'll be, if I was to prioritize, I think I'd say an outdoor 50-meter pool one, and soccer/baseball fields, whatever the open space would be my second choice, to be honest with you.
I know a couple of properties that I have had my eyes on for a while are now apartments that were nice and flat and could have served, you know, at least a couple of soccer fields.
Yeah.
But those are gone.
But think
so.
about it, you know, if you had 40 or 50 acres over there,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to think about trying to pigeonhole them in, right? How many can you,
Right.
how many you want? Yeah.
How many you want and how many do you want to be covered so they're 12 months fields? and-
Yeah, yeah, and how many do you want as grasses, how many do you want as turf, I mean, you
Yeah.
get the whole, you have the
Yeah.
whole gamut over there.
Parking,
So- What's that?
parking.
Oh, no, again, I think if you do it
Nobody
with
cares
with an
about
aquatic center, then you just have, bunches of it, right?
Yeah.
So. All right, any other questions for David? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you bet. So as we
That
go
was
along,
funny, Laura. Laura,
you'll see
that
it
was
again.
funny.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So next up is council member salaries and salary commission. So I'll let Mark sort of tee it off, and then I will turn it over to, I think, Danielle and to Carrie, who've done some work on it in the meantime. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and tee it off, and then.
Sure. And I don't really have that much to say, you know, what my cover memo kind of addressed this. I'd say for background, I think since I've been on the council, I've been through, I think, 4 salary reviews of council salary, probably the same number of mayoral salaries. And in one of those cases, we didn't take any action. I find the discussions difficult. I don't think, I just find them difficult and uneasy, unsettling. And I remember talking to the mayor and city attorney emeritus, Steve, about a better way of salary adjustments. And I just happened to be at a conference last fall and was talking to a professional peer of mine who is a member of the City of Shoreline Salary Commission, and I was like, oh, how did I miss this? And, you know, began to look in it, and so that's why I came up with this. I'm not going to necessarily lobby you all on this, but I do think that this approach has a higher degree of objectivity and transparency. And I think we just wanted to discuss all the various options that might be available to us. And I spoke with Danielle last week, and you know, let's take a look at what our options are and see if we want to proceed with this. I like it because it doesn't have the limitations of setting a salary and then waiting for an election period. And then, you know, we ended up with three positions have a different salary than 4 positions, and then 4 will have a different than 3. We kept this last time, we did a 2-year delay.
Yep.
And in the meantime, salaries themselves get a little
Yep.
wacky and that. So anyway, that's really about all that I had to say. I just thought it was a pretty intriguing idea that had, again, citizens helping make a decision very similar to what the state does with the state salary commissioner.
Yeah. And so I asked Carrie, so I took the memo you gave us, Mark, with the RCW stuff, and I gave it to Carrie, who I think gave it to Danielle, and so they have been doing a little bit of work on it, and I think Carrie's trying to get something chimed onto the computer screen, I'm guessing. How
I
we,
was trying to hook up to the screen up there, but it's not pulling it up.
we'll trust you.
So, I don't know, Danielle, if you want, since you were the author of it. So some of the things that we want to look at, and I was going to pull up the document, but I'm limited. Let's see.
There's stuff on our screen, but I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Do you have in front of you the draft ordinance?
There's a bunch of PDFs here that I don't know what they are.
Okay.
There's one that says Pitt, there's one that says Wenatchee S, there's 2023-01-31.
Of this one? Yeah. Yeah, let me just try to pull and run there, over there.
I love technology. When it works, it works.
I was gonna say, we could just try to unplug here. You wanna see if you can unplug here?
Oh. Guess we're gonna see Carrie's computer here in a minute. Got any pictures of your kids we can see? or anything?
Right, yeah. Actually, I should have the ordinance up
What are the
for you
girls
already.
doing? Yeah.
Yeah,
There it is, look at that.
there.
Woohoo.
Okay. So, right now, one of the main questions, and as we'll work through this, I think it's my understanding, just want to determine the parameters for the ordinance. Right now, I think based on Councilmember Kulas's request, he was wanting this to address council members, but the RCW provides for mayor and council member salaries. And so one of the questions that I had for you is that, did you want to keep this specific to council members, or do you want to make it for all elected officials? As written, this is just my edit. It's currently stating City of Wenatchee elected officials. I had edited potentially city council members as a clarification if you want to.
So let's go through your presentation, and then we'll
Okay.
ask the council to give us some direction as to how they
Okay.
want to do that.
So right now, we've got the ordinance, and then we've also developed the salary commission chapter, 1.62 to add to the code. Right now, we're thinking that 3 members of the commission is sufficient. I did survey our comparable cities to see, for those that did have a commission, it was generally 3 to 5 local citizens that would be elected by the mayor to serve on the commission. They would serve a term of 2 years and
3 years.
3 years, thank you. And then, let me see,
With the initial appointment being staggered, so you would have the initial 3, one would serve 2 years,
Right.
1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then after every other appointment, it would be for 3 years.
perfect, thank you. Okay, am I missing anything else on the basic general?
We did.
Overview.
We added some member qualifications, so we added the requirements that are under the statute, and then we also included a requirement that they be a registered voter of Chelan County.
Okay.
There's already a residency requirement, so
Yeah.
that is already part of the RCW, so we included that within the qualifications to serve on on the board. We also included an OPMA requirement, Open Public Meetings Act requirement. I think it's required, doesn't say in the statute, but I think it's gonna be required because the commission has the ability to supersede ordinances. And so that should be open and transparent, and because they have the power to do something you guys don't, and you've delegated that power to them, and they don't have to come back for approval, I think they are a public agency of the city and would be required to comply with the OPMA. So, we did also include the automatic disqualifiers that are in the statute. So if somebody is no longer a resident, they come off the board. If they are incapacitated or not no longer competent, they come off the board. The one thing we did add, which may be something that may be stretching the statute a little bit, that if they lose their right to vote, they would come off the board. That's not in the statute, but the statute does say that somebody can come off if they're no longer have the capacity or if they're no longer competent. So I think if we added additional qualifiers for the commission and those qualifiers are no longer met, then they are no longer competent and they no longer have the capacity to serve. So. But otherwise, it's pretty simple.
So does their quorum meet 2 people? So if 2 people showed up, they could, in essence, you could have 2 people making the decision?
Yeah, so some ordinances that I looked at, they defined what a quorum was. I did not, since we were doing a 3-member board, it was kind of, unless you want a unanimous, everybody present, that's up to you guys, but.
With a smaller group, I want all 3 to participate, right? If we had 5, I could handle a 3-person quorum. I think if it's 3, I'm more inclined to want to have 3 people in the room.
Yeah,
But that's
so-
just my gut. Council gets to decide that, but.
Yeah, so we could add in a definition of a quorum, meaning a quorum means 3.
Okay, so we gotta talk about whether the mayor's in and quorum, anything else on this?
Pretty straightforward.
It's,
Stick with C.
the RCW is one of those rare cases that it's very specific.
Yeah,
It's really unusual that the legislature would pass something that was very specific.
And
not-
you're okay with the September timeframe, because you gotta fit this in a budget, right?
Yeah, I think September's when we're doing most of our budget requests and getting that phase in, so September, by the end of September should be good.
Okay.
And that's, sorry to interrupt you, Brad, that is one thing that I added. So because I think they qualify as an agency under the OPMA, I put in the ordinance a reoccurring annual meeting.
Okay.
So that meeting would not have to be noticed as a special meeting. So we can put whatever date you want in there.
Okay.
I was just thinking it had to be done before budget time. So I just picked something before budget, so.
And for you, Carrie, in terms of workload, you'll just be updating the salary stuff, so
Yes.
we're not asking a ton of you,
no,
4
no,
or 5 hours of your staff time.
yeah.
Anybody could do it, one
And
of your
it's, the
other
timing's
folks.
good for that as well, yes.
I guess I'd like to start by taking a step back and seeing how many of us feel this is required, because this is already taking up staff time. And do we really need something like this in the city of Wenatchee? I've expressed my views in the past about how I feel about salaries for our positions. I think this should be a position that people serve on because they want to serve, not because of a salary. So I guess I'm curious how many others feel like this is something that we should move forward with and take more staff time to do.
Can I just interject one more thing? Is that some ordinances included a provision that the city council member can waive or return their salary? I did not include that in this. So that could be a provision that you guys discuss if you go this route for the ordinance.
Well, kind of different, but sometimes, I don't know what the future holds, but sometimes I worry about, which is different than the salary, what are our duties? Are we all going to enough meetings? You know, what's the qualification to be a city council person? Because I think sometimes I think it's just if somebody wanted a minimum, isn't it 2 out of a 3 or something, and just keep doing that? Is that something, do these connect together? That, is it perceived that we show up to some of these committees? I mean, I guess I'm looking at it to make sure we're all participating. I believe we all are at this time. But if we're gonna set this up for the future, then should that be something that is also discussed?
So that commission would then monitor the activities of current council members and see if they're living up to their expectations? Is that what you're thinking?
I'm not sure if it's that, or if it's like, hey, it's not just showing up twice a month as the minimum, it's also includes your 3 boards that you're on, you gotta be on a minimum 3 boards. I don't know, maybe that complicates things.
All that does is require Carrie and her team to look at how other cities are doing it, how many other boards they sit on, and trying to make a determination of whether a council member in Wenatchee is the same as a council member in Pullman, or Bremerton, or other places that we look at. I go back to Mark's point, which is, it's cumbersome right now. It's not cumbersome to do the mayor's salary, because the 7 of you can vote on that any day you want, right? And you can change that tomorrow or 2 days from today, that's not a problem. But to do council member salaries, you can't vote for your own. And that makes it cumbersome. And we have struggled with how to do that in a way that's efficient. I think Mark has made the point that it's awkward to vote on your own salaries. It's awkward to say, hey, I'm in 8 meetings, I deserve $1,500 a month, and Travis is in 4 meetings and he gets, it's awkward. And so I think setting the salary, have someone else look at what's going on and just setting it. Maybe it goes, I don't know what it is now, 1,000 a month, maybe it goes down to 800 because someone goes, you know what, this isn't the right, or maybe it goes to 1,200. I don't know what it does, but it's awkward and hard because you can't vote for your own salary increases. And it does make it where it's, for a while, when I was on council, it was uneven. We had 3 people making more than the other 4.
Until this time, it was that way.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. And that's uncomfortable to come to work with someone who you may be spending way more hours at the job than they are, and they're getting more money than you are, right? So let's get everyone the same, and we trust you that you're gonna go to your meetings and do your work. I've told you all, you've all heard me say this a bunch of times, you're the ears of the community, but you also have to travel and do stuff to have a life, and, I'm the CEO, I'm here way more than you are, and that's okay. I get paid way more than you are, and that's fine. I sort of looked at this and I thought, if it's not too cumbersome and it's staff, remember, she's got 2 people that work for her. It could be one of the other persons doing it, that she just overviews their work and give them a chance to sort of be involved in some decision-making. And so I don't look at it as a burden on staff per se, because there's other people that can help carry with the work. And I think having someone else tell us, I actually like that idea. Whether you put the mayor in or not, I'm sort of ambivalent to that. That's you guys' call. But I think this is something we should do, and I think you're gonna find more communities doing it. I was on testified for the House version of the Aquatic Center, and the term right ahead of that was regarding salary commissions for counties. And there's some counties that have gone from a 3 commission to a 5 commission board of commissioners, and it's like, well, how much do they get paid? And it's like, they should have a salary commission because now there's 5 people splitting the work, not 3. And so there's some legislation that allows counties to do something like that. So this is not something that's unique. I think more and more people are talking about it. So Keith, from someone who sat in your seat and has sat in other seats, and Mike, I'm not worried about people because people do their work differently, right?
I guess you just want to get voted back in.
Yeah. Listen, I think we all do what we can in the ways that we do what we can, and I think that just has to be enough. And we hold ourselves accountable. There's been times when people didn't show up and we held them accountable, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and that's the council's responsibility.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. To speak to Keith's concern, they might vote our salaries down. My first almost day here, 2 council members came in and say, "Oh, you're making more money than me." I'm like, I didn't even know how much money I am making as a council member. That didn't even come up until I got my first check. Did I realize how small it was, which is fine. I did not get into this to retire. Anyway, with those things being said, So we don't know, Keith, but ultimately, I'm uncomfortable voting up or down my salary, period. I want someone else to make that decision based on merits or what they feel that we're worth. I don't want to vote on that. It's always weird when you hear it on TV, well, so-and-so voted every single time to increase their salary. I don't want that on anything that I'm doing that I'm,
But that's what we've always had it, where you're not really voting for your salary, you're voting for the next election cycle salary. And again, take salary out of it. Do we need this commission? Yes or no?
just,
And it sounds like you
just
guys are feeling like
on
we
the
need it.
public appearance of it, I think we do.
Okay.
The other part of it is if, as I believe, and this council believed last time we did raises, that you all get them together at the same time, then you're doing it every 4 years, and that's a hard thing for us to sit here today and say, okay, we're gonna raise salaries, but we're gonna do it together. That means January of 2026, everyone gets a salary increase. So how the hell you know what the number's supposed to be in 2026, right? You're just sort of trying to figure out what that is, and you do it based on what Kerry brings us, and we do the best guess we can. So to have someone else who gets to look at that annually and make those decisions, and it may only be $100 or $200 one way or the other, and that's fine. At least we're taking a look at it and feeling like we're being fair for the work product that you're producing.
And then a couple other quick things, and then I'll shut up. I want to control the vote of the mayor's salary. I don't want to hand that off. I think the 7 of us at any given time, whoever it is, should maintain that, but that's my opinion. You guys might do it different. What else do I have? That's about it, I guess. And if we do a 3, I want all 3 present to vote. I don't want a partial, if it is 3, if we decide that.
Yeah, after talking with the city attorney last week and my quick glance at this, there's a couple of things that I think are outstanding in this. One is that Open Public Meeting Act requirement, to just real clear, it's a public salary commission, and so council members, or if we do decide that they would do the mayor can come and plead their case. Citizens can come and plead a case. It's not that they can't do it now, but these smaller groups can be a little more focused. And let's face it, we have a lot of boards and commissions that have a lot of authority.
Yeah.
Like Jose and I are on the F1 Disability Board.
Yeah.
There's no oversight on that. Whatever we decide
Yeah.
is it. So I like that. I like the idea of the annual as well, because that means annual adjustments could be made if
Yeah.
warranted or not. But it does get them meeting. And I'm all about registered voters being part of the schema here. I just like the feel of it, the openness of a group of citizens that are engaged in this. Insofar as the mayoral salary, I'm fine with it being in there. I'm fine with it not being in there. I'm Knox mix on it. One thing that I would mention that would not be in this, but one consideration that we might toss out to us if we set up a salary commission is sometimes I think that perhaps the mayor pro tem should have an additional stipend because he or she needs to be a little more available than the rest of the council. And I'm not saying much, but to recognize that there might be more ceremonial things that he or she needs to fill in for the mayor. It's not just conducting the meetings, but that might be a consideration that we could ask the salary commission if they wanted to do so, instead of imposing that on them.
Jose, Michael?
I don't have much to say, but I just want to say that I've been told many times from different constituents that how much do I make doing this? And honestly, I said, not enough. You know, when I signed up, I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the passion. To me, I don't care where this goes, if it goes up or down, if it stays the same. Honestly, I'm not here for the money. But then when you think about it and you realize the job that you do, and I'm going to say about me because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it is hard. It is time consuming. You take your time away from family. You're driving away. You're on your phone all the time. You're on your computer writing information. You're always busy, so it is a necessity, you know, the way we're living now. But I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind whatever the situation goes as long as it's fair and we all comply to it.
Top, you have anything to add?
No, I'm just, I think everyone has valid points. When it comes to money, I think I'm leaning towards kind of how Councilman Kulas feels about the awkwardness, and maybe it would be nice to have other people make those decisions. But I'm still, I think I need to learn a lot more about it myself. But that's all.
All right, you got 2 weeks to learn, because it's coming.
Can I add one thing, though? There's been talk about having the council all earn the same amount. This does not resolve that problem, though. Increases happen during the term.
Right.
Decreases will not happen until the end of the term.
Okay,
So you would still have some people making more than others.
if
depending
they
upon-
did decreases.
If they did decreases, depending
Okay.
upon where your term ended.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the chances of
I don't
decreases
see
are pretty slim.
decreases happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's give staff some direction then. 3-person council's okay?
Well, I did want to discuss that just a little bit. And I don't recall, was there any instances in 3-member ones that all 3 had to vote in the affirmative, or is it just
Just a majority of
2?
it.
In the samples that I read, it was just a majority.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would like to have 3 people show up. If we need to have a 5-member commission, that 3 show up or whatever, I want 3 people in the room
Okay, I'd say if
voting
it-
and 2 of 3 count. Yeah.
I would concur that if it's a 3-person, the quorum is 3.
Okay.
And the majority is 2.
Yeah. Okay, and let's go ahead and
That
pull
kind of
the,
makes sense?
let's pull the mayor out of it, and then let's stick with the same date as Danielle has in there. I think that's a fine date. Any other issues?
Does it need to say anything about the pro tem, like consideration?
Well, I think
Or is
that would be, I
just-
think that's something we'll, if you want to add something,
I
I think that's a
don't-
tough one.
I don't want
because
to, I don't want to clutter this up.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's just
I
leave
think
it, and they can do that, yeah.
the problem is some mayor pro tems have gone a whole year and done nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then other times they've run several meetings and gone to several functions, so it's just.
Yeah.
If you did it, it would have to be a stipend per event type thing, and I think that complicates it too much.
Or match
It should be in it.
the mayor's.
No, not in this.
No.
All right, you guys got some marching orders? So
Got
what do you
marching
think, in a
orders.
month
Is it
or?
clear as mud?
There's my,
Month or so?
Next
I
week?
think we can bring it back in April, depending on
Yeah,
your
I
schedule.
think we can do the first week, first meeting in April.
Okay,
Well, great.
Okay,
that works for me. All right,
wonderful.
thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking that on, Carrie.
Of
Thanks for your
course.
work.
When I walked into her office, got something for you.
Yeah, always happy.
Yeah. All right, council member community engagement. So, this is something that Mike asked us to talk about, so I don't know if we want to, Danielle, if you want to tee up a little bit, or have Michael go first, and then you sort of talk about roles and responsibilities during election cycles. How do we want to?
Mike can go first because
Mike, you go
it's
first.
kind of a broad topic.
Okay.
Yeah, it really, and we mentioned this actually for the salary, I want more open and transparency. And I don't know if it's more, it's just that I want to be accessible. I think we all need to be accessible. And one of my thoughts was as simple as, we got this council here, and then if you guys come here when there's kids that go upstairs, there's a little board out there that says, hey, you can come up here. So maybe before a meeting, maybe one of us every month can have it be here like an open house. And so you can be here for an hour, and if people want to stop by. Or simple enough as like connecting with the school and say, hey, can we show up at the school for an event, and maybe we bring a staff member, not to eat up staff time by any means, but it's the idea is like maybe, this started by some people, I calculate my call, every call I get, not my emails, but every call I get, and I've had 150 calls since the beginning of the year. So some are multiple, situations. And it's like, I wonder if I can deal with 10 of them at a time. And sometime, and I think some of them I could have. And so that's where I'm at, and I know there's issues, legality issues about it, that you can't just, that's what Danielle's, I think, is gonna talk about. But that was my thinking, just to be, I don't like somebody to tell me that I'm not there, they don't have access to me. I don't like that feeling, so.
So in terms of doing an open house, there's nothing that prevents it or limits it unless you're going to have a quorum doing that open house. So I would implore you not to have a quorum or more at any function unless it has been properly noticed as a special meeting. So Mike, if you want to hold a town hall for your district, there's nothing that stops that. Then the second issue would be, what is the communication that's going out in that town hall? Because this is an election year, you can't promote yourself during your official business conduct or time as a council member. So those are essentially your limits, your general limits.
But you're thinking more of a listening or addressing, you're not talking about, hey, we're gonna tell you what we're doing. I wanna listen to what your problems are and
Pavement's
what can we do to
yeah,
help?
pavement's a great example. Tell you right now, in the middle of summer, if one of us is sitting somewhere, we're gonna have 20 people that'll show up. Because especially if when they call you and say, hey, you know what, next Thursday, Keith's gonna be there, and he's gonna be there with a couple other people, and that's, yeah, it's more of a listening, but I do worry about legalities of, again, be transparent that it's election year, every couple years, so I know some people are, I think that's in May or something like that, but, yeah, I never want to break any rules, and I never want to break any laws. I just want to be, our job's supposed to be there for the people.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to accomplish that. And maybe this is something that we just touch on it today, and maybe it's something that's implemented January 1st next year. Like, hey, you know what? Part of the deal, we expect you to be down there, one of these meetings once a year. I'm asking once a year. We do the ice cream thing in the parks, right? I think we all had a park or something like that. Well, that's something, right? It's not a.
And you're aware we did the Let's Talk campaign years ago, where, the idea was, hey, let's go out into, back then it was the neighborhoods, it wasn't
Which
districts.
is a couple of schools and some stuff, I remember, yeah.
And I think there was some successes there. The downside is it burned up a ton of staff time, because we tried to have a ton of information that anybody might ask and things like that. And then we did do them in the schools, and the schools kind of wanted to make it let's have our students perform a choir or a band or something like that ahead of time. And I got so much negative feedback about that, because it's like, hey, I came here to talk to you, and we got music going on and we can't talk. So I think there's a lot of good in what you're thinking. I don't know the best way to implement it, because what we did last time, like I said, had marginal success.
I always judge those minus the entertainment, because you got entertainment and then mom and dad showed up to watch, but once the entertainers left, if there was more public there than staff, then you accomplish something. And I think it was a 50-50, because by the time all of our department heads show up with their staff and some of their assistants, and the council, if we call ourselves staff, we've got 16, 18 people in the room, and 14 people might show up. And so it is hard. I think it's hard to sort of figure out. Usually when there's a topic or an issue or something that's hot, they're pretty good about getting at us. But so I think, to me, you guys have to sort of figure this out. You're more than willing to do an open house anytime you want to do one. I don't know how you advertise it. I mean, I think that's the issue, because can we advertise it for them as staff? They don't really have staff people that work for them.
So as long as it's not part of an election campaign, yes,
Right. Okay.
staff can, you be utilized.
Okay. Yeah, so, Melanie's available to help, so if you decide to do something that's requires something in terms of something to be published or mailed or something, there's, people that can help up in our office.
Yeah.
But,
So what do you guys think? Again, I think this is just the beginning of something to kind of, what do you guys think of, once a month, one of us has to show up a half an hour early and sit back there and just be open for whoever comes and wants to talk to us? I don't know.
It's not a bad thing, but you gotta remember a half hour before we meet, most people are still working.
Okay,
And that's part of the problem.
okay.
A lot of people have asked me, how come you have council meetings when you do? Well, when's the perfect time to have it?
Yeah.
Because, if you're not working, you probably got a family you're doing stuff with, so it's tough trying to find the perfect time.
Well, maybe we can all just kind of go back and,
Well,
Come up-
maybe the broader discussion is just the changing times of citizen engagement.
Yeah.
When I started doing my profession in 1977, there was no internet. Citizen participation was conducted a lot differently than it is now. And now with other tools, it's even different than certainly pre-pandemic. So, maybe it's a broader discussion of how, what I've seen this being God, now I'm sounding like I'm old, but I am. My 20th year on the council, and Frank, you were there at the beginning too, how much dramatically open city government is than it was. And it wasn't that city government was trying not to be open 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Everything was paper.
Yeah.
And everyone expected if you wanted to engage with your elected officials, you had to come to City Hall. I mean, that was just the system. We don't do that now. Our staff's out everywhere with the homelessness stuff, the interface with downtown, with the school districts. Our staff is everywhere now, and we are too.
Yep.
It's just different.
Yep.
And so maybe we need to look at what is our next 3-4 years of citizen engagement going to look like.
Right.
Citizen participation, citizen engagement going to look like for the next short term, because there's going to be another technology change.
Yeah.
There's going to be another instance. I am so pleased and proud of this facility compared to where we were. And those comments we got at the last meeting when was it the Apple Blossom Royalty said, geez, we didn't know this was here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we go out to people and how do we get people here?
Well, I think you're right. I think technology has changed, and now we all have cell phones with us that's always with us. And like you mentioned, you're getting a flood of calls with questions and emails and everything else, so you're doing the job. And I think really the only thing it sounds like you'd like to do is figure out a way to talk to multiple people at the same time and answer the question once instead of 20.
or listen to it all.
Listen to it and then say, here's what we're working on, or,
And then I can at least go to somebody
Yeah.
and say, hey, what are we doing here? That's where I need help, is when I go back, I'll go to the staff and say, why is this road ripped up? And then it comes back and I do a little research and say, oh yeah, that's because we need this to happen to get this to work, or,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay, well, staff's available to help if you guys have stuff that you want to do. I think Melanie has some available time. I'm not trying to speak for Laura, but I think she's probably got some time if you decide you want to do something that's important in that manner. And again, if you guys want to come early, you don't need our permission to show up at 4:15 and greet people when they come in the door. That's certainly up to you. You can do that anytime you want.
As long as there's not a quorum doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other issue with the early times might be those few times that we have executive sessions where we want to take care of business beforehand because we might have something on the regular agenda that needs action.
and maybe since we're not doing so many work sessions, maybe that's the night to do something like that, is on that third Thursday when there's not a work session going on.
Yeah.
And it's after work hours and,
District 1 and 2,
Yep.
yeah,
District 3 and 4.
Yep.
Wow.
You're gonna have to explain to them which district they're in, because they won't know.
Well, yeah, that is,
And
yeah,
maybe it doesn't matter, you know?
maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I would like to see that. When I started council, I was active. I was trying to make meetings everywhere, but then when COVID hit, everything stopped and then they brought us down and you're like, what do we do now? And now I think, I mean, what you're saying, I mean, I like your idea. And it would be great because a lot of people don't know who we are sometimes or what we do and what's going on. So, I mean, I do want to get a town hall out there somewhere in my district. You know, I have a lot of entities on there, the homeless, cafe, the park, shelter, you know. I mean, why not, you know, get a lot of answers to the people that really need answers. Where's their money going? And what are we really doing? I'm into that. That would be great. So if we
Well,
can.
if you wanted to do that, and work with staff, and we could get a mailer out or something, or we could put something on Facebook, and you can work with Cafe to find a time, and we don't mind sort of helping with that, to a certain degree, and then if election season comes up when you're running for something, I think we gotta be a little bit careful about how we do that. But
No, yeah,
we're a
Yeah.
few months away
don't
from
mention
Yeah,
nothing about
yeah.
that. Just
Yeah, just the appearances.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
All right, let's keep that conversation going. Anything else for the good of the order for tonight?
What's happening tomorrow night?
We got a St. Patrick's Day parade.
What time?
Yeah, I've got some digs, so I'm dressing up tomorrow night.
All right.
My final St. Patrick's Day parade. I've got,
Good.
Mayor Crawford showed me up last
Yes,
time.
she did.
And I am back at it this time, so, yeah.
what-
You won't miss me.
Yeah,
the parade and where
7
from where?
o'clock, right at the corner of Arrondo and,
and Mission,
Mission.
down to Wenatchee Avenue.
It's a whole
What's the,
block.
yeah, what's the,
It's
it's
the
the,
block.
it's the
Whole half
time?
block.
One block. It goes right in front of McGlynn's. It's that block.
Shortest parade there is.
Yep.
One block.
And then there's
In
some
the Guinness
Irish
World
dancing
Records?
lessons at
Seven oh
Titus.
five.
Yeah, yeah, then the dancing lessons, yeah, so I was told today I had to take, and it's like, no.
Yeah. It's really, it's a fun event, and I think the weather's gonna be nice, so
Yeah.
it's really super
Yeah,
fun if you're,
It's gonna be similar to this apparently
yeah,
tomorrow,
so if you're out and about, it's a fun event.
yeah.
All right, with that, we're adjourned. Thanks, Zach.